Subscribe to the channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Endeavour Careers. Hello and welcome to Endeavour's GK Capsule for the month of April 2022. This month we shall talk about the remarkable turn in events leading to a change in leadership in Pakistan, the election results and the new leadership in Hungary and France, the suspension of Russia from the UN Human Rights Council, palm oil crisis in Indonesia, WTO's revised outlook for global growth, as well as GDP growth projection for India this year, Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, announcement of merger of the HDFC twins, and other such highlights of the month. The first category is awards and recognitions. United Nations Environment Programme has named Sir David Attenborough, English natural history broadcaster and naturalist, as the recipient of the Champions of the Earth Award 2021 under the Lifetime Achievement category. This award is given to him for his dedication to research, documentation and advocacy for the protection of nature and its restoration. He was knighted twice by Queen Elizabeth II in 1985 and again in 2020. He has won 3 Emmy Awards and 8 British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards. The John F. Kennedy Library Foundation, for the first time ever, has awarded the John F. Kennedy Profile in Courage Award 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is among 5 people named as recipients of this award for acting to protect democracy. The foundation stated that Zelensky has marshaled the spirit, patriotism, and untiring sacrifice of the Ukrainian people in a life-or-death fight for their country. It also added that 4 US officials were also chosen for the award for standing up for free and fair elections, as the system is challenged in ways it has never been before. In other news, the Regional Connectivity Scheme UDAN, the flagship scheme of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, has been selected for Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration 2020 under the category Innovation, General, Central. UDAN scheme emphasizes on good governance, qualitative achievements and last-mile connectivity rather than only achievement of quantitative targets. In a span of 5 years, 415 UDAN routes have connected 66 underserved and unserved airports, including heliports, and over 92 lakh people have benefited from it. The award was launched by the Government of India in 2006 to acknowledge, recognize and reward the extraordinary and innovative work done by districts and organizations of the central and state governments. Falguni Nair has been named as the EY Entrepreneur of the Year 2021 at the 23rd edition of the EY Entrepreneur of the Year India Awards. She is the founder and chief executive officer of the beauty supply company Nykaa. She will now represent India at the EY World Entrepreneur of the Year Award on 9th June 2022 at Monaco. The Lifetime Achievement was given to A.M. Nayak, Group Chairman of Larsen & Toubro. The award recognizes the unstoppable entrepreneurs who, with their innovation, resilience and boldness, are positively impacting lives of millions and carving out a different future from the present. It is the only global business award program in the world, celebrated across 60 countries. Our next section is Persons in News. On 11th April, the Pakistan Parliament elected Mr. Shehbaz Sharif as the 23rd Prime Minister of the country, a day after Imran Khan was ousted from power in a no-confidence vote. Shehbaz Sharif is ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's younger brother, who also served as the Punjab Province Chief Minister for 3 terms. After Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the former foreign minister, announced that his party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, will be boycotting the PM polls, Shehbaz Sharif was elected as the Prime Minister unopposed, securing 174 votes. The requirement for majority is 172. In Hungary, the authoritarian leader and longtime Russian ally Viktor Orban clinched a 4th consecutive term as the Prime Minister, winning by a huge margin. In power since 2010, Orban has flouted democratic norms, tightening the noose around academics, NGOs, and the media, and restricting freedoms for migrants and gay people. He also stands accused of diverting millions in EU funds to friends and family. On 24th April 2022, Marine Le Pen, a far-right leader, has been defeated by Emmanuel Macron to be re-elected as the President of France. Macron is the first French sitting president in the past 20 years to have been re-elected. The turnout of the election was just under 72%, which is the lowest since 1969. Macron received 51.5% of the votes, while Le Pen received 41.5%. Emmanuel Macron has been serving as the President of France since 14th May 2017. During his presidency, he has overseen many reforms to taxation, labor laws, and pensions. In his foreign policy, he asked for reforms in the European Union and also signed bilateral treaties with Germany and Italy. The central government appointed economist Suman Beri as the vice chairman of Niti Aayog for a term of 5 years after Rajiv Kumar resigned from the post on 22nd April 2022. Suman Beri was the National Council of Applied Economic Research Director General for a period of 10 years from 2001 to 2011. He had earlier served as the member of India's Statistical Commission, Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, and Reserve Bank of India's Technical Advisory Committee on Monetary Policy. He took up this post from 1st May 2022. Ajay Kumar Sood, an eminent physicist, has been appointed as the central government's principal scientific advisor for a 3-year period. He is a physics professor at the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, and is known for his work on graphene. He will be succeeding renowned biologist K. Vijay Raghavan. The PSA's office has the aim of providing objective and pragmatic advice to the cabinet as well as the Prime Minister on matters that are related to the fields of technology, science and innovation, with a special focus on the application of technology and science in economic and social sectors and critical infrastructure in cooperation with the various government departments, industries and institutions. Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey will be replacing General Manoj Mukund Narvane as the 29th Chief of the Indian Army. He is an alumnus of the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, and the National Defence Academy, Khadakwasla. In 1982, he was commissioned into the Bombay Sappers after passing out from the IMA. Lieutenant General Pandey held prestigious command and staff assignments in counter-insurgency and conventional operations in all types of terrain during his 39-year military career. In the Western Theatre, he has commanded an engineer brigade. He has also commanded an infantry brigade along the line of control in the Ladakh sector and a corps in the northeast region of the country. Before taking over as the Army's Vice Chief, he also served as the Eastern Army Commander. From June 2020 to May 2021, he served as the Andaman and Nicobar Command's Commander-in-Chief. After General Narvane retires, he will be the senior-most officer of the Army. He has been conferred with the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Param Vishisht Seva Medal and Vishisht Seva Medal, 2 times with the GOC in C Commendation and the Chief of Army Staff Commendation. He took charge of this post from 1st May 2022. For the G20 summit, which will be hosted in 2023 by India, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla has been appointed as its chief coordinator. This role has been newly created by the government to organize the summit. The G20 Sherpa will remain to be Piyush Goyal, the Indian Commerce Minister. Harshvardhan Shringla is an Indian Foreign Service officer who has served as India's 33rd Foreign Secretary. He has also previously served as the Ambassador of India to Thailand, to the United States of America, and as the High Commissioner to Bangladesh. The G20 summit that will be held in India in 2023 will be the country's biggest ever multilateral event that has been hosted in recent years. This summit provides a tremendous opportunity for the country to showcase the nation's rich culture, infrastructure, hospitality, and diversity on the global platform. Radhika Gupta, CEO of Edelweiss Mutual Fund, Raghav Chadha, Aam Aadmi Party leader, and Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation, were named by the World Economic Forum in its list of Young Global Leaders 2022. The list also includes athlete Mansi Joshi, Ritesh Malik, founder of Innovate Co-working, Suhail Samir, CEO of BharatPay, Vinita Singh, CEO of Sugar Cosmetics, and Jaideep Bansal, CEO of Global Himalayan Expedition. This list is described by the WEF as the planet's most promising 109 young global leaders who are under the age of 40 and are involved in various activities like health equity, green energy, education reforms, refugee rights, etc. Moving on to our next section, Places in News. The important effort of Meghalaya's planning department, the e-proposal system, which is a part of Meghalaya Enterprise Architecture, which is MEG-EA, has been awarded the prestigious UN Award World Summit on the Information Society Forum Prizes 2022. According to the government, the e-proposal system now automates all of Meghalaya's departments and directorates sanctions and administrative approvals and delivers government services with desired outcomes to all citizens and other stakeholders across the state in an integrated and seamless manner, eliminating 75% of physical files. MEG-EA was launched by CM Konrad K. Sangma in 2019 and is being executed by the Planning Department of the Government of Meghalaya. The UN chooses the best 5 in each of the 18 categories as champion projects. Meghalaya e-proposal system is also expected to receive the winning award, which will be presented on 31st May in Geneva, Switzerland. The world's highest tunnel will be constructed by the Border Roads Organization at Shinku La Pass at 16,580 feet. This tunnel will be connecting Himachal Pradesh to Ladakh. The construction of this tunnel by the BRO will begin by July 2022 and will be completed by 2025. This tunnel will help in boosting the economy of the Zanskar Valley, as the travel time between Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh will be reduced after this tunnel is opened. Moving on to the major highlights in the category of national news. In financial year 22, asset monetization worth Rs 96,000 crores has been completed by the central government, surpassing the Rs 88,000 crore target. In financial year 23, the centre has targets of monetizing assets worth Rs 1.79 trillion, Rs 1.62 trillion for financial year 24 and 1.67 trillion for 25, totaling up to monetization of around Rs 6 trillion worth of assets over a 4-year period. In April, WHO released a report stating that a total of 15 million deaths have been estimated related to the COVID-19 virus by the end of 2021. This is more than double the official figures that have been reported by countries individually. The report also showed India's death toll to be around 4 million, which is almost 8 times the official numbers released by the government. The Indian government has raised objections disputing the death calculations in the country, stating that for a large country like India, the same mathematical model cannot be used as it is used for countries with a smaller population. In a big breakthrough, Egypt, the world's largest importer of Russian and Ukrainian wheat, has approved India as one of its suppliers amid a sharp dip in global wheat production due to the conflict between the two countries. Egypt is likely to lift about 1 million tons of wheat from India, of which 240,000 tons were to be shipped in April itself. In financial year 23, India aims to export 10 to 11 million tons of wheat as global demand is surging following the Russia-Ukraine crisis. India and the United Kingdom have launched their Global Innovation Partnership as both countries look to bolster their innovation ecosystem to benefit the startups. GIP is expected to provide a model for utilizing the Trilateral Development Corporation Fund for projects with other countries like Germany, Japan, the European Union, France, etc. that are willing to work with India on the field of development and innovation. The GIP will be co-financed by India and UK. India has aims of using the TDC fund to contribute to the GIP that will help in globalizing the Indian innovations and startups with help like developmental capital, investment, grants and tech assistance. Investments through this fund will be increased in those places where Indian companies are already investing. The TDC fund will be providing an alternative to the development partnership model of China that has deepened the influence of China over some of India's neighbors and has pushed those countries into debt traps. Next, we have major highlights in the category of international news. The war in Ukraine entered its third month with no sign in sight to the fighting that has already killed thousands of people and displaced countless families. In the face of mounting sanctions and fierce Ukrainian resistance, bolstered by Western arms, Russia kept up its long distance bombardment in the country and opened up a new offensive in the east. Russia announced that besides Donbas, which includes the breakaway regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, Moscow also wants full control of southern Ukraine. This would give it access to Transnistria, a breakaway Russian occupied part of Moldova in the west, and would successfully cut off Ukraine's entire coastline, helping it push hundreds of miles west beyond current lines, past the major Ukrainian coastal cities of Mykolaiv and Odessa. The Russian action in Ukraine has expectedly invited widespread condemnation from the West, with several countries slapping punitive sanctions on Moscow. Since February 24, Russia has vaulted past Iran and Syria to become the most sanctioned country in the world. Russia has also been suspended from the UN Human Rights Council after there were allegations that its soldiers violated human rights in Ukraine. The UNHRC is an intergovernmental body under the United Nations responsible for the protection and promotion of human rights across the world. The United States first moved the resolution to suspend Russia over its military aggression in Ukraine. The campaign to suspend Russia started after photos and videos of civilians killed by the Russian army in Bucha came to the fore. Amidst harsh sanctions imposed by the West, Russia tested its new intercontinental ballistic missile CMAT on 20th April 2022. The RS-28 CMAT, NATO name Satan II, is reported to be able to carry 10 or more warheads and decoys and has the capability of firing over either of the Earth's poles with a range of 11,000 to 18,000 kilometers. It is expected to pose a significant challenge to the ground and satellite-based radar tracking systems of the Western powers, particularly the USA. The CMAT will also be the first Russian missile which can carry smaller hypersonic boost glide vehicles. These are maneuverable and hard to intercept. The upgraded electronic countermeasures, guidance systems, and alternative warhead carrying capacity makes the RS-28 CMAT ICBM more lethal than the R-36M Voyevoda ICBMs, NATO name Satan, currently in service in Russia. Sri Lanka opened talks with the IMF in Washington after announcing its first ever default on external borrowings in April. This was the first ever debt default by Sri Lanka in its history since 1948, and the country's 22 million people are facing crippling 12-hour power cuts and an extreme scarcity of food, fuel, and other essential items such as medicines. A Sri Lankan government delegation, led by newly appointed Finance Minister Ali Sabri, held talks with the International Monetary Fund between 19th April and 24th April to secure a 4 billion USD package. Indonesia, the largest producer and exporter of palm oil, is experiencing domestic shortages so much that the government has been forced to put curbs on shipments and introduce price controls. Indonesia will effectively ban palm oil exports from 28th April until further notice after President Joko Widodo announced a halt of shipments of cooking oil and its raw material to control soaring domestic prices. Indonesia has since 2018 stopped the issuance of new permits for palm oil plantations, often blamed for deforestation and destroying habitats of endangered animals such as orangutans. India imports around 13 to 13.5 million tons of edible oils every year, of which around 8 to 8.5 million tons, which is around 63%, is palm oil. Of this 8 to 8.5 million tons of palm oil, almost 45% comes from Indonesia and the remaining from neighboring Malaysia. This crisis will have an effect on India as the country will not be able to import huge quantities of palm oil from Indonesia unless the crisis ends. In other news, US President Joe Biden in April announced plans for what is said to be the largest release from the strategic petroleum reserves in American history of 1 million barrels a day for 6 months to lower gas prices at the pump. The announcement comes as a part of a broad effort by Biden to tackle raging inflation that has hurt US consumers and threatens Biden's fellow Democrats as they seek to maintain control of Congress in the November elections. The World Trade Organization has revised its global trade growth forecast for 2022 from 4.7% to 3% due to the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. The pandemic, along with the war, has disrupted global supply chains, increased inflation, and lowered trade growth expectations. The organization has also issued a warning regarding a potential food crisis that can affect the world as there are exports disruptions from Russia and Ukraine, both of which are major suppliers of grains and several other commodities. This export crisis is driving up the prices and it will affect the poor countries across the world. The next category is news from the fields of business, economy, and industrial sectors. In one of the tech world's biggest deals, Elon Musk has taken control of the social media site Twitter. Through this deal, he will be acquiring the social network for around 44 billion USD, with the shares of the company being valued at $54.20. The initial bid by Musk saw Twitter implement a poison pill defense to fight against the hostile takeover. However, after announcements by Musk regarding the security of funding, the board started negotiations. Musk has raised 25.5 billion USD of fully committed debt and has raised margin loan financing from around a dozen banks so as to back the bid. After the completion of this deal, Twitter will become a privately held organization. Musk has repeatedly expressed his dissatisfaction with the board of Twitter about the management of the company and is likely to make major changes to the top management. On 4th April 2022, mortgage lender HDFC Limited announced that it will merge with HDFC Bank. This merger is yet to be approved by the Reserve Bank of India. HDFC's amalgamation into HDFC Bank would do three key things to the housing loan market. Firstly, the obvious outcome would be a reduction in the market share of housing finance companies and a concurrent increase in that of the banking sector. Secondly, it would impact the growth and margins of HFCs as the heft of a large balance sheet coupled with access to low-cost borrowing would be tough to compete with. Lastly, HFCs may be driven towards riskier developer loans, which come with asset quality risks. Holcim Limited, the world's largest cement maker, is considering a potential sale of businesses in India, including Ambuja Cements Limited. Holcim has been selling off non-core assets to reduce debt and diversify through acquisitions. It divested its Brazilian unit for $1 billion in September 2020 and is also planning to sell its business in Zimbabwe. Founded in 1983, Ambuja has a cement capacity of 31 million metric tons and has 6 integrated manufacturing plants and 8 cement grinding units in India, its website shows. Its subsidiaries include ACC Limited, which is also publicly traded. Adani and JSW are understood to be vying for the cement assets. For the fiscal year 2022-23, India's GDP forecast has been slashed by the World Bank from 8.7% to 8%. The reason given for the change in forecast is due to rising inflation and worsening global supply caused due to the Russia-Ukraine war. South Asia's growth outlook, excluding Afghanistan, has also been slashed to 6.6%. According to the World Bank, India's household consumption will be constrained due to the labor market's incomplete recovery from inflationary and COVID 19 related pressures. High food and oil prices due to the war in Ukraine will also have a negative impact on the real incomes of the people. The Reserve Bank of India released guidelines for the banks of the country to set up digital banking units. An announcement regarding the setting up of 75 DBUs in 75 districts was made in the Union Budget 2022-23. A DBU is a specialized business unit that houses minimum digital infrastructure for the purpose of delivering digital banking services and products. The DBU's objective is the expansion of financial inclusion and digital financial services. According to the guidelines, permission to open DBUs has been given to scheduled commercial banks that have past digital banking experience. They can open DBUs in Tier 1 to Tier 6 centers without taking any permission from the Reserve Bank of India. The Union Cabinet has given its approval for the financial support of Rs 820 crores for the India Post Payments Bank. This monetary support will help the state-run payments bank penetrate deeper into the nation, especially in countries' rural areas, and will work towards boosting financial inclusion. IPPB was opened in the year 2018 and it is a part of India Post, which falls under the ambit of the Department of Post. IPPB recently crossed its 5 crore customers mark in just 3 years since it began operations to become one of India's fastest growing digital payments bank. Niti Aayog released a draft battery swapping policy on 21st April 2022. Under this policy, all metropolitan cities in the country having a population over 40 lakhs will be given priority for the development of a battery swapping network under the first phase. Also, under this policy, all major cities such as UT headquarters, state capitals and cities having populations of more than 5 lakhs will be covered under the second phase, as two-wheeler and three-wheeler vehicle segments are important in growing cities. The policy is aiming to support the adoption of battery swapping, especially in battery swapping systems that are used in three-wheeler, electric rickshaws and electric scooters. Reliance Industries has informed BSE that its agreement to buy Future Retail for almost Rs 25,000 crores cannot be implemented after lenders to the retail company rejected the deal. A majority of the secured creditors of 4 out of the 5 Future companies voted against the resolution required to pass Future Group's scheme to sell most of its retail and logistic businesses to Reliance Group. After the lender's rejection, the only option for the resolution of Kishore Biyani's retail chain is going to bankruptcy court. Moving to our next section, meetings and summits. India's Minister of Defence Rajnath Singh and Minister of External Affairs S. Jaishankar met with the Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin for the US-India 2+2 ministerial dialogue in April. This was the first meeting under the 2+2 ministerial format since the start of the Biden administration. There were some specific outcomes from the summit. These include an anticipated agreement on space situational awareness. The governments have created a new US-India Education and Skill Development Working Group, and the two sides announced their intention to create a framework to advance cooperation in critical and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and semiconductors. The two sides reiterated their desire to restart dormant work streams such as the US-India Commercial Dialogue and the US-India CEO Forum. The ministers announced their intention to explore utilizing Indian shipyards for repairs on US Navy vessels under the US Military Sea Lift Command. The 2+2 dialogue is a format of meeting of the foreign and defense ministers of India and its allies on strategic and security issues. A 2+2 ministerial dialogue enables the partners to better understand and appreciate each other's strategic concerns and sensitivities, taking into account political factors on both sides. In order to build a stronger, more integrated strategic relationship in a rapidly changing global environment. India has 2+2 dialogues with 4 key strategic partners: the US, Australia, Japan, and Russia. Besides Russia, the 3 other countries are also India's partners in the Quad. During the visit of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, to India, the two countries have signed two government to government memorandum of understanding. The MOU on the Cooperation on Global Center for Nuclear Energy Partnership was signed between the Department of Atomic Energy of India and the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy of the UK. Another MOU was also signed on the implementation of Global Innovation Partnership between the Ministry of External Affairs of India and the United Kingdom's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. This collaboration has been signed with the aim of jointly promoting training and research on radioactive applications, nuclear energy studies, nuclear safety, and security. India and Australia have signed an economic cooperation and trade agreement under which Canberra would provide duty-free access in its market for over 95% of Indian goods such as textiles, leather, jewelry and sports products. The India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement was inked by Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and Australian Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment Dan Tehan in a virtual ceremony in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison. The agreement will help in taking bilateral trade from 27 billion USD to 45 to 50 billion USD in the next 5 years, Goyal said. On 25th April 2022, the Raisina Dialogue was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This dialogue is country's premier conference on geoeconomics and geopolitics and was started in the year 2016. The conference aims to address the most challenging issues that are being faced by the global community. The Ministry of External Affairs, in collaboration with the Observer Research Foundation, organizes this conference, which brings together various leaders in business, politics, civil society, and media annually to explore cooperation opportunities and to discuss the current state of the world. This year's dialogue is scheduled to have near about 100 sessions with more than 210 speakers from 90 different countries. In this dialogue, there will be various conversations and panel discussions across multiple formats on the 6 thematic pillars. Nepal's Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba met his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi and inaugurated the Himalayan nation's only railway track with its southern neighbor in a summit meant to deepen relations. Deuba and Modi jointly flagged off Nepal's only railway link between Janakpur in Nepal and the border town of Jainagar in India. The 35-kilometer, 22-mile railway was reconstructed by India as a grant. The two prime ministers also remotely inaugurated an electricity transmission line that will supply hydroelectric power generated in the Solukhumbu area where Mount Everest is located to Nepal's national power grid. Both countries agreed to speed up the Pancheshwar hydroelectric project on their border in West Nepal, which Modi said would be a game changer for the development of the region. Analysts said the visit would help further promote the multifaceted relations between India and Nepal. Our next category is science and technology. The Data Governance Act was formally approved by the European Parliament on 6 April 2022. This sets up a legal framework for common data spaces in Europe, which will increase data sharing in sectors such as finance, health, and environment. The Digital Services Act would, among other things, compel services including Facebook, Google, Twitter, and others to crack down on the spread of disinformation on their platforms and to reveal how their algorithms recommend content to users. The DSA would also prohibit certain kinds of ads on the platforms, such as targeted ads aimed at children or tailored to people's ethnicity or sexual orientation. The DSA is one of two pillars of a major tech regulation overhaul, first unveiled in draft form by the EU in December 2020. The other pillar, the Digital Markets Act, received preliminary approval last month and is designed to address issues such as anti-competitive behavior. The EU has also passed the General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR, which is designed to give people more control over the collection and sharing of their personal information. Moving on to our next category of sports, Spanish teenager Carlos Alcaraz captured the fourth title of his young career by beating 8th seed Pablo Carreño Busta 6-3 6-2 in the Barcelona Open final on 24th April. The US Open quarterfinalist joins countrymen including Nadal, coach Juan Carlos Ferrero, and Carlos Moya in lifting the trophy in the ATP 500 clay court tournament. His singles tally stands at 4 titles following triumphs at Miami and Rio de Janeiro this year and a victory at Umag last July, where he became the youngest tour-level champion since Kei Nishikori claimed the title at Delray Beach in 2008. Deepika Pallikal won the gold for mixed doubles and women's doubles championships at the World Doubles Squash Championships, teaming up with Saurav Ghoshal and Joshna Chinnappa, respectively. India has never won gold in the World Doubles Squash Championships, and this is the first time the country has won the gold medal in this tournament. The men's doubles were won by Declan James and James Willstrop of England. In 2014 and 16, India won 2 silver medals in this tournament. In 2016, Deepika and Saurav had lost the mixed doubles finals. With this, we have come to the end of this month's edition of GK Capsule. We hope you like the coverage of topics in our monthly edition. Do also watch our other online videos. Happy learning. Thank you.